Welcome everyone to the Student Affairs, Care Support and Partnership presentation. I am Sharon Bond, the Director of New Student and Family Programs, and I'm happy that you can join us today. For those of you who are just seeing the slide in front of you there, live closed captioning is available to you, and you can just click on the show subtitles at the bottom of the screen, and we also have Spanish translation. And as you have questions throughout today's presentation, you can go ahead and add those into the Q&A button there at the bottom of your screen. And then if your question isn't answered throughout the presentation, we'll get to those at the end. And some of them may be answered by typing into the Q&A. So thanks again for joining us. Our webinar is being recorded today, so you can always go back and take a look at it later on. And right now, I would like to introduce Nikki Latino, who is our Interim Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs and Inclusive Excellence. Nikki?
Thank you, Sharon. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with you today and with my amazing colleagues who I think we just created a presentation just so we can hang out together. But they will be introducing themselves as they get ready to present. And it really does take, it's titled appropriately, Care, Support, and Partnership, because we care holistically for your student, and we do this together across divisions and across the university as focusing on your student success. And as part of this, we take a holistic approach to student development, and it's part of our Chancellor's 4-dimensional student vision. And it really connects the students' intellectual growth with their professional development, their character exploration, and their well-being. When we think about character exploration, it's such an important part of our students' development and their experience. And it really is not only understanding self, but understanding how to meaningfully engage in learning across difference. Understanding civic responsibilities to engage in critical thinking and discourse, dialogue and deliberation. Show respect and empathy and emotional intelligence and integrity and responsibility towards each other. Learning that brings together a diverse group of individuals from different life backgrounds and experiences and identities and perspectives is such an important part of character exploration and really teaching our students how to develop more cultural competency as they graduate and become leaders in their fields. When we think about character exploration, we think about courage and awareness, responsibility, the resilience that they have demonstrated and continue to demonstrate in the learning that happens, and engaging in ethical behavior. We think about overall well-being and really a holistic approach, and Dr. Michael Afar will speak more about this as he reviews the resources available to support our students. We're thinking about overall wellness in terms of mental and emotional health, physical health, social, those connections that we're creating a hybrid experience both virtually and in person for our students to find their pathways to community. Spiritual and whatever that means for a student, intellectual, financial, environmental, and career. And we offer resources to be able to support our students in navigating these areas of wellness and getting support to further develop. For the Division of Student Affairs and Inclusive Excellence, we are staff educators and healthcare professionals who support your students' overall well-being. And there are 22 departments that make up our division. We have 109 full-time staff members, and we have 250 part-time staff members, including graduate and undergraduate student workers. So the departments that make up our division are Access and Transitions, Budget and Operations, our business analysts and coordinators, Community Commons, our Cultural Center and Spiritual Life, so cultural and spiritual life, and we have a cultural center, Disability Services Program, Fraternity and Sorority Life, Health and Counseling Center, and that includes administration, medical, counseling, health promotion, our Center for Advocacy, Prevention, and Empowerment, and our collegiate recovery community, housing and residential education, inclusion and equity education, our learning effectiveness program, our new student and family programs, our Office of Student Engagement, our Office of Student Outreach and Support, our Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities, and Veteran Services. You'll be able to hear a little more about each one of these areas, and at this time, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Chendu.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chendu Jayachandran, and I serve as the Director of the Cultural Center and Spiritual Life. My preferred pronouns are he, him, his. And I'm incredibly honored to welcome all of you and your students to the University of Denver and the Denver, Colorado region, which was originally inhabited by the Arapaho and Cheyenne tribes. And certainly I invite all of you to take a little bit of time to learn a little bit more about the history and the legacy of the Arapaho and the Cheyenne tribes. A part of that commitment is reflected in the Cultural Center working closely with the Native American Community Liaison, Stevie Lee, to support our Indigenous students on our campus, and also to do some education about these communities in the Denver region. Additionally, the Cultural Center also supports various identity-based student organizations. We advocate for their learning and for their overall well-being. And we have 2 staff members who lead those efforts. The Excelling Leaders Institute is a very student-run program that envelops all of our incoming students in this community of care and learning, where they learn about leadership, identity development, growth, and we make sure to connect them with mentors from alums to students who are currently at our community. The LGBTQ+ services provide support for these communities. We have a Pride Lounge that creates a space for them where they can be in community. And then the spiritual life component pulls together various faith traditions in a continuing dialogue on interfaith practices and how we can all grow in our spirituality. We bring in community partners from various faith traditions to support these services. So welcome to the Denver community. We are incredibly honored that you chose to join us and send your students here. So thank you.
Thank you, Chendu. Our Access and Transitions area really has various cohort experiences for our first-generation students. We have our 1Gen U. We have Daniels Fund students who are part of these various communities. We have our Denver Promise students. We have a cohort for our students majoring in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and it's called eSTEM. Equity in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We have support for our DACA and undocumented students. And we have a program that's been around the university for 30 years with many alumni involved with it called our Volunteers in Partnership program. Our students have an opportunity to be in cohorts with getting to know their peers, academic workshops, wellness workshops, community involvement on campus. And currently they are in a pre-orientation program, but that gives you a holistic look at our Access and Transitions cohort experience for our first-generation students. I'd like to introduce my colleague Erica to take on the next slide.
Thank you, Nikki, very much. My name is Erica Hollis, and I am the Interim Executive Director of Equal Opportunity and Title IX here at the University of Denver. As you've already heard in our presentation, DU is absolutely committed to the ideals of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And my office is charged with ensuring that that happens. The Office of Equal Opportunity and Title IX is a 5-person office that is charged with ensuring that every student, staff, and faculty member has an equal opportunity to experience DU. In addition, we investigate any complaints of discrimination, harassment, or gender violence that might occur at DU. What we investigate are those claims of discrimination or harassment that is based on a protected class. And a protected class is considered things like race, religion, creed, ethnicity, gender, gender identity, sexual orientation, or gender or sex. So how can you talk to us if you or your student have a concern? Reach out to Title IX, that's Title IX at du.edu, and we will respond to you as soon as possible. In the alternative, there is also a way to report concerns on the EO and Title IX website, where there's a button where you can press report an incident, and we will respond to you within 24 hours. Welcome again to the University of Denver. We're so happy to have you here. I'm now going to turn it over to Dennis Becker, our registrar.
Thank you. I am Dennis Becker. I'm the registrar at the University of Denver. The Office of the Registrar handles a variety of functions: registration, student records, grading, transfer credit, privacy, and complementing our students, our colleagues in student affairs, we administer veterans benefits. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about student privacy at DU. Our student privacy practices are mainly governed by a federal law called the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA. I believe you've received a link to DU's privacy information for parents and families, and you can email our office if you haven't. I'll provide a link in just a moment. It's easy to, well, I can provide that now. It's easy to find on the registrar's webpage at du.edu/registrar. And then on the left-hand side, you can click Privacy in FERPA. The Family Education Rights and Privacy Act is the principal law that governs privacy of education records. The main point I guess I'll share today is that students' rights, privacy rights, transfer from the parent to the student when the student enters college. So now, instead of being the person that has the rights, parents are third parties, I'm afraid. Higher education institutions generally communicate academic information such as grades to the students and not parents. So while you may pay the bills, the grades belong to the student. So we understand that you're anxious to know about your students' progress at DU. The best way to understand this is for you to communicate with your students directly. We encourage students to share grades and other information with parents. Students can provide a release, however, for us to share information with parents and others. They can do that online using the same portal where they register. DU personnel can see this release to understand what we may share with parents. So we encourage you to talk to your student and ask them to fill out a release so that faculty and our offices can discuss your students' issues with you. Students should not share their logon information with anyone, including their parents. I'll say a quick word about registration before I go. Please remember your students have a great deal of flexibility in creating great schedules. They may not always get their first choice in all classes, but they will always get schedules that move them along in their chosen degrees. And students will be able to make schedule adjustments this week. And I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Holt. I'm the Interim Director of Campus Safety. Campus Safety is an unarmed service-oriented department. We're here to serve your students, our students and staff, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have 24 uniformed officers assigned to me and 9 dispatchers. We are responsible for the Blue Tower Assistance Stations phones. We're in the process of transitioning from the emergency phones to assistance stations because we want to encourage all to use those phones or communication methods to contact us anytime that they need assistance. We're also responsible for the card access systems that your student will be accessing all of the buildings on campus. We're responsible for the fire, burglar alarms, and also for the camera systems that are on campus. The two most common crimes that we respond to, they're theft of unsecured property and alcohol and marijuana violations. So if you secure your items and cut down on marijuana and alcohol intake, the occurrence of crime is lessened. We have a safe walk or safe ride program that we also are responsible for. The student can call us anytime at 303-871-2334. And someone will respond and either walk or ride the student to their location. Right now we have small group classes, first aid, CPR, and we also have a 90-minute self-defense class. And we're also transitioning some of our classes online. And the only one that we have online currently is Crime Prevention 101. We encourage all of our students and staff to sign up for emergency notifications. And you can do this on the Campus Safety webpage, du.edu/campus safety. And just click on the link and sign up for emergency notifications. Parents can follow us on our Facebook and Twitter account, DU Campus Safety, and all of our emergency notifications push to those accounts. And I'll be here for questions as well at the end, and I'll turn it over to my teammate, Dr. LaFar.
Good afternoon, and let me join the rest of the team here in welcoming you and your students to the University of Denver. My name is Dr. Michael LaFar. I'm an interim vice chancellor and also serve as one of the folks in charge of health and well-being. As Dr. Latino said early on, I think we approach health and well-being in a very integrated way. As an example of that, we have a social worker who works in medical services. We really see the mind and the body connected. So we have some of the services that we provide in the HCC is what we call the Health and Counseling Center. We have an integrated health service, very much like your primary care services available to you, which is available to students. We provide counseling, both individual and group. Obviously now during the COVID time, much of the counseling services are available through Zoom. Our health promotion team is a team of professionals who work from a public health perspective. So they work on real prevention initiatives. The Center for Advocacy, Prevention, and Empowerment, or CAPE, is our group that works for doing advocacy around issues of gender violence. And the last area that I will quickly touch upon here is the collegiate recovery community, and that's available to our students who are in recovery. It's been in our third year, and the program is really thriving. Telemental health services are available to all students through Morneau Chappelle, and I can certainly, our website will have a lot of information about that. That's provided at no additional charge. We're here to help your students in their taking care of their minds and their bodies and help them to be successful during their career. Thank you and welcome. Next, I'd like to introduce my friend and colleague, Dr. Tanette Lutke.
I got to upgrade. Hi, my name is Tanette Lutke, and I'm the Director of Academic Advising. I get to lead some colleagues in academic advising that support all undergraduate students, specifically with a focus on undeclared students. So for the undeclared students, we're here for you. And then for all students, we're also here for you. I like to think of our office as the interpreters of academic policy. So we have a bulletin. And Dennis Becker's team helps with that putting together that bulletin. But sometimes things can be, written in college speak, not necessarily in a way that a student would understand it. And so academic advisors are available to provide clarity around those academic policies. And then we also help with graduation. Sometimes that can get confusing, as there's quite a few things that you need to do in order to prepare for graduation. We also help with academic coaching. And so this is a proactive way for students to get support with time management, thinking about the fact that students are coming into a quarter system, which moves fast. We also help with study skills. So as students may be adjusting to online coursework, what does that mean? How does that look for them and the way that they learn? We're also available to help with goal setting. We have very ambitious students, and they want to do a lot in a little amount of time. And so helping them prioritize and then create action steps to get them to their goals. So that's my office. And then we also have tutoring on campus. If you didn't know, we have 3 tutoring centers. The Math Center for those students that are currently taking calculus, pre-calculus, our engineers, our business students, there is support. And then Writing Center, the Writing Center provides consultations for helping students, from formulating their ideas into creating their outline, into understanding what the faculty member is feedback that they're giving them on their projects. So the Writing Center is available, and then Science and Engineering Center also is available to help students with those first and second year biology, chemistry, physics courses. Please let your student know that we are available if they need any support around their academics, where to go. There's so many resources. You can easily become overwhelmed. advising@du.edu. Oh, and our next presenter is, I do believe.
It's going to be me. I
you
want to
again.
talk
There
about,
you
yeah, thank you, Tanette. One of the other really important community care and support aspects that we do is we create a residential community here for our students so that they can get to know one another and build these lifelong relationships that are so important. We know that particularly during a pandemic, the need for our students to connect with each other and connect with faculty is very, very important. So the residential education and community offices are really work to be sure that our students are integrated and have a really holistic approach to engaging in their life outside of the classroom. We certainly work within this office within spirit and traditions. What does it mean to be a part of this DU community? We also have robust student programming, clubs, organizations. We want folks to be able to get involved and connected. Fraternity sorority life is an important part of DU's experience. And we also work with student government and do have leadership development programs because we want people to continue to develop and foster those parts of themselves. So we look at this from on a continuum in a really integrated way.
Sharon, if we could go back a slide, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm going to go over a few other resources that we have. Veteran services. So for our active duty members, there's reserve components as part of the veterans umbrella and also dependents. We provide comprehensive support for GI Bill and military assistance counseling for current and incoming students, connection to on-campus and off-campus resources for veterans and their families, transition through a pre-orientation program and student engagement assistance, professional and career development, and employment search assistance. And we have our Disability Services Program, or DSP, and this is the area that provides equitable access to opportunity through reasonable accommodations and connection to resources. And if your student has a medical mental health condition, please make sure that you're proactive in connecting to Disability Services Program to get the accommodations in place before the quarter begins. And the Disability Services Program will also have an orientation session coming up for any students who are part of the DSP community. Our Learning Effectiveness Program is our fee-for-service program, and they just recently had their pre-orientation program. The fee pays for an hour a week with an academic counselor, 60 minutes a week with an executive functioning specialist, and subject-specific tutoring for any subject that a student would like additional support in. And that can happen as many times during the week and weekend as the student would like. And we have our tutoring coordinator who would be able to set that up. So that's our Learning Effectiveness Program. I'll continue with resources that are available. We have a student outreach and support area, which is truly a comprehensive hub of support, connection to resources. And our families can submit a referral. We love acronyms at the university, so it would be an SOS referral. If you go to the Student Outreach and Support website, the referral is on the front page. If you have concerns about your student, you can go ahead and you just want to make sure that you're having conversations with your student, you can submit that referral. We have students submitting for each other, and some of our most powerful referrals are students submitting for themselves, so self-referral. And at the University of Denver, we really have an approach of we look out for each other. So from basic needs of food and housing insecurity to connection to healthcare resources, connection to getting involved on campus, student outreach and support is our center hub, and they can also help get students connected with academic resources. We have also a care, we take, if you could go back, Sharon, thank you. We also take a comprehensive approach, an educational approach to behavioral accountability. And we have two areas that we have for that. We have our care behavioral intervention team. So sometimes students just need to connect to resources, whether healthcare resources or through the Disability Services Program, to get back on track with behavior. And so it's a supportive team that looks at all the data points to make sure that we're connecting our students to the resources they need to be successful on campus. We have members from the Division of Student Affairs and Inclusive Excellence. We have campus safety. We have other members of our community who are involved with our care behavioral intervention team. We also have our Student Rights and Responsibilities Department. Other universities refer to this as student conduct. And it truly is that proactive approach of really sharing what the rights and responsibilities are of being a member of the University of Denver community. We have our honor code that is published. We have our values of respect, integrity, and responsibility that we educate our students on. And then we have the policies and the expectations clearly outlined for our students of what we expect for behavior. We know that we make mistakes and there's lapse in decision making, which is why there's also an educational approach and what we call outcomes. So there'll always be a status outcome. A status outcome can range from warning all the way up to dismissal. And then we have educational outcomes. So decision-making workshops or writing reflection papers. We take a restorative approach proactively to help students understand what it means to be a member of a community. And when you make a mistake that causes harm, how you restore that, how you engage in conversations individually to really build those conflict resolution skills and come at it with empathy and with that care and compassion. And also we have something called restorative justice, that if a student's case falls under that umbrella, it's an opportunity for the student to engage with the community about repairing harm with the decision that they've made. But it's about that transparency, about students' rights, responsibilities, how to repair harm, and the consequences for behavior under that educational approach. And at this time, I would like to offer up to any of the panelists any additional comments that you would like to make, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started on Q&A. Tanette, there's some questions about our tutoring and academic advising centers allowing students to go in person during the fall quarter, where the center is located, how are you delivering services for that academic support that you touched upon?
Oh, that's a great question. So for the tutoring centers are located in our Anderson Academic Commons. And I'm not sure exactly if, because it's 3 different tutoring center: math, writing, and the science and engineering center. I do know that they were offering services via Zoom. I'm not sure how the services will be offered for the fall. For academic coaching, it will be remote, so virtual Zoom. And then academic advising, we will have both Zoom and in-person availability. So students can, choose if they would like a Zoom or if they would like to meet in person with an academic advisor. So yeah, I guess I can follow up with Sharon to make sure to find out how those different centers are going to be operating. I think we have a week, maybe 2. So I think, it's not, the websites are not current as of right now. So I'll reach out to my colleagues and find out how the tutoring is gonna work.
Annette, we'll stay with you. We have a question about how students set up a meeting with their academic advisor.
Absolutely. So for our first time students, their academic advisor is their first year seminar instructor. So that's really helpful. So that works. And then if for some reason, the Office of Academic Advising is always playing in the background, ready to support if for something happens, and they, because we are available Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, and they may need more immediate assistance. And so we have on our website a link where students can schedule an appointment. And then we also have drop-in advising where students can go into a drop-in queue on Mondays and Wednesdays for 1:30 to 4 p.m. So that's how we provide the advising. And then for any transfer students that are not first time students, they have major or faculty advisors, and we have a list on our website that has their contact information. So like if you're philosophy or economics or psychology, each department, some have 1 advisors or 3 advisors or however it is, but we have that information so that they can connect with their academic advisor.
Thank you, Tanette. Commander Holt, this next question is for you. How can a student sign up for self-defense classes?
Please visit our website at du.edu/campus safety. And if the classes are not there yet, they should be there at the end of the week. I know the training coordinator was populating that information. So that information should be there. If it's not there now, it'll be there at the end of the week with class offerings.
Thank you. We have a question about if students chooses to start the quarter without accommodations through the Disability Services Program, but find that they may need it, can they add the accommodations later in the quarter? And the answer is yes. The more proactive a student can be, I would just suggest that the students get that set up before the start of the quarter, because if they don't need to use it for one of their classes, it's already set up, but they can absolutely set it up at any point during the quarter. Accommodations just cannot be used retroactively. So it's from the moment of approval forward. Sharon, any other questions that you would like to
Actually,
ask?
I did see one. Yeah, there is one here in the chat that I think would be useful for others that are on the call today. And this may be for Michael Lafar. Can you explain a little more about Telemental Health? Is it 24/7? What are the primary concerns that they handle and how it's different from counseling?
Great, thank you, Sharon. Excellent question. Yeah, we offer Telemental Health 24/7. and it's available in actually in different modalities. We were quite surprised to see that the majority of the telemental health utilization since the start of the pandemic has been primarily through texting. People are looking for support. They may be having a panic attack, maybe experiencing a particular incident, so they can access this service with a licensed mental health provider 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anywhere in the world. It's also available, of course, through HIPAA compliant Zoom, over the phone as well. Yeah, so it's a service we've provided to our students for, you know, since, gosh, we're probably in the before the pandemic, but it's a service that's really well utilized. People, even if they're just wanting a little bit of extra support. So it's available, no cost to the student. And you can get more information on our website, du.edu/HCC.
Thanks, Michael. I did see another question that actually came up in the chat, and I'm not sure. I think maybe this would be a good thing for others on the call to hear as well. And it was the question about for students needing help with organization skills and time management. The question was if that is done by talking with an academic advisor or a one-time or a program or a class. And I think, Jeanette, that you had something to offer there, and I'd also like to put that website into the chat menu if you want to talk about that just for a minute with the group.
Sorry, I'm looking at the chat. I'm being distracted. Okay, yeah, I did see that question. That's a great question. And so academic coaching the question was it ongoing or if it was just a one-time session, and it could be both. So students could meet with an academic coach, and then they could, you know, figure out kind of what their plan is, have an action plan and move forward, and then they feel good, they're great. And then some other students, it may be longer because they just have several goals and they're creating multiple action steps, and they're coming back to have more accountability and as they move forward in their goals. But the most common academic coaching scenario is where students are coming in and they are working with an academic coach around their time management, where they just have so many things that they're trying to do, or they are feeling a little bit overwhelmed, you know, once they get their syllabi and they're looking at it and they're like, what do I do? I don't know how to figure all of this out. How do I figure out time to eat and study and do all the things I want to do in a healthy way? And so that's the most frequent. And then that would entail probably more meetings just over time to make sure that they're holding to the time management goals that they've set, because it's easy to kind of get off, you know, of what you thought you would do. If you said I was going to study X number of hours, and then knowing that you would meet with your academic coach, then it would be like, oh, how did the studying go? And it's like, okay, so, and then, yeah, so that's academic coaching. And we have, right now we're having academic coaching training, but we will have those, the availability for coaches up at the end of this week. And they'll be available to start meeting with students next week as, you know, students start arriving back to campus and all of that. And it's an online link, so we'll have it up and ready to go. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, that did. Thanks, Jeanette. Also, to go with that, is there, oops, I just lost the question. Hold on just a second. It looks like it just popped into the answered questions, but I didn't get to it. I was just about to read it. Is there a specific counseling contact for transgender students that we could connect with prior to the quarter?
Yeah, I think Dr. Palmatier is helping me answer some of these questions. She's the director of counseling. If what I just say for if students have looking to connect with the counseling center ahead of time, they're welcome to call us at 871-2205, and one of our team members will talk with folks. But we certainly have staff like myself who are trained in trans health, and we've got other people on the team as well. So specific questions, we just recommend calling in and speaking to one of us, and we'll help walk you through the process.
You can also look at the bios on our website for all the counselors. We do have a few counselors that specifically specialize in working with trans identified students. And I think just in general, that's a good place to start. So students are able to both call in and talk through a referral to a specific counselor, or if they look at the bios and they know who a good person would be, they can also schedule right into that person's schedule through My Health. And if it's not available to get in that schedule, they can just call and request that specific counselor as well.
Here's one more that just came up. The question is, my son has been looking for the HIPA release form so campus staff can share medical info with his parents. Where might he find that?
Yeah, another great question. Thanks, Sharon. We don't have a global HIPAA release, so that, in other words, there's not a release that one signs for all sort of medical issues. It is based on a particular sort of issue. So, but let me have you all rest assured, if there's emergencies, we always are in contact with families and guardians because we want folks to know what's happening. But for routine care issues, most students don't want their families to be involved, but they can do that certainly, come to the HCC and say, hey, I'd like to do a HIPAA release. It's available on the website, but there isn't one that's sort of global for all issues. But emergencies, we always are in contact with the folks that the students want us to be in contact with.
It looks like we're starting to wind down on the questions coming into the Q&A. This is a good opportunity. If anybody has any other questions, we'll wait just a minute and see if something comes up, and you can just type it there into the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Okay, here's a question that popped in. When do I pick up my ID card? And I would say that depends on if you are a residential student. If you are, you will get that at the residence hall when you come over to check in and get ready to move in. If you are a commuter student, then you will be picking that up on an on-campus location. It is scheduled to be in the place called the Hub right now, and we're going to send out some specific information for commuter students, where that's located, what the time's available, you know, to come in and pick those up. But otherwise, when you show up for your move-in to the residence hall, then your ID should be waiting there for you. That's as long as you have sent in your photo. Now, if students have not sent in their photo for their ID card, their card will not be waiting for them, and they'll need to make other arrangements for that. If your student needs to have their ID photo sent in still, I would appreciate it if you would email us at parents@du.edu. Okay, we have one question here.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm grateful to all of my wonderful colleagues on the panel. Thank you for joining us, and thank you all so very much. We look forward to seeing many of you next week. And again, welcome to the University of Denver. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much.
We actually have a couple of questions here that I could go ahead and address really quick before we sign off for the day. We've got another 9 minutes or so. Have mailing addresses been posted for residence hall students? They are posted on the housing website, www.du.edu/housing. And you can look at the building addresses on there. Make sure you have your student's room number when you send any mail. The residence halls are not accepting mail until the 8th of September. And can we unload outside of Demond on move-in day? There will be a move-in process. As you are pulling up in the vehicle, you will see some volunteers out there to help you find the correct spaces to unload and give you directions on how to check in. So I just wanted to get those in there real quick for everybody so that you could hear those answers. And I think that is it for the rest of our questions. Thank you once again, everybody, for joining us today. And I think that that is, yep, that's the end of our questions that have come in. So everybody have a really good day. Thanks for joining us.